Hold on.
Hey guys, thank you again for joining us for another episode of the RepPath podcast. Today we have an awesome topic that I know everyone out there wants to know, and that's how do I make $300,000 a year? Just that simple, guys. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about some of the tips and approaches that I would use and I used back in the day when I was in the field. So before we move forward, though, guys, as always, if you want to see the recording of this podcast, please make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel, Unfiltered Medical Sales Coaching. So you can go on there and get access not only to this podcast, but all the podcasts that I have available. And we are live today on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and LinkedIn. And we're also on every podcast platform that's out there. So let's get right into today's topic. How do I make $300,000 in medical sales? So I want to eliminate some misperceptions, especially for some of you out there that aren't in the industry yet. You hear about all the crazy numbers that some of these reps can make, because I know that was one of the reasons why I got into this field. I heard, oh, wow, you can make over $1 million a year in medical sales. Absolutely. I'm in. Who wouldn't want to be in? You got to be realistic, guys. These numbers that you hear, they're real. There are reps out there making $1 million a year, making $500,000 a year, but they're far and few between. So even the 300,000 reps, that's not half the reps out there are making these kinds of annual, total compensation. On average, the data shows it's about 7 to 8% of all medical sales reps are making $300,000 a year. Okay, so you got to be in the top 10% to make those kinds of numbers. So I just want to say that so you have an understanding of it's not easy. Okay, but it's attainable. And the first thing you got to do is have the right mentality to get to that number. You don't want to just come in there and say, I'm going to make $300,000 this year. Okay. It's the wrong approach, guys. Yeah, of course, every rep out there is going to say that. I want to make $300,000. You have to go out there with a game plan to get to that number. All right. So the first thing I'm going to teach you today, and it's the most important tip of the day, and that's you got to reverse engineer the number. And it's like, all right, Joe, what the hell does that mean? So reverse engineering the number is getting that number that you want to hit for the year. All right. So let's give a real example. If you want to hit 300,000, we're going to assume, just to make the numbers easier, you're making 100 base. All right. So you got to average $50,000 quarterly bonuses. It's not easy. All right. So let's just focus on the quarterly number. I know a lot of you guys out there are getting monthly commissions, but just for argument's sake, we'll just focus on getting quarterly bonus checks. So to get $50,000 quarterly bonus checks, how do I do that? First thing you have to do is figure out, what you guys all know, how much do you get paid per procedure? So if you are getting, we're going to make all these numbers easy. If it's $10,000 every time the doctor uses your product. So it's $10,000 to the company, and you're getting, we'll say, 5% of the $10,000 that goes towards your company. You get 5% of that. So you're making $500 per case. That's what goes in your pocket. So quite simply, guys, how many cases do you need now to hit 50,000? Right? So if I'm going to hit 50,000, 10 cases is 5,000. Okay. 100 cases is 50. So I got to do 100 cases a quarter to hit $50,000. All right. Now, if I'm going to hit 100 cases a quarter, how many doctors do I need to hit to those 100 cases? Not one doctor is going to do 100 cases with you guys. I think you all know that. I know everyone's field is different and every product is different, but 100 cases is absolutely impossible. That means you're doing a case every day, actually, even more than that, because we only have about 20 working days in the month. So you're going to need X number of doctors, and you have to figure that out. So let's say we need 10 doctors using our product, that are good users. So each going to do 10 cases a month. You got 10 doctors. That gets to your 100 cases for the quarter, which is at $500 per case, gets you 50,000. So if you're going to get 10 doctors, how many calls do you have to make to get to those 10 doctors? All right. So what I'm doing here, guys, is reverse engineering the number. That's the key. That's one of the first things you have to start doing, because we've all heard this saying, how do you eat an elephant? And it's piece by piece. And that's the same way you got to approach this, because $50,000 quarterly bonus is essentially an elephant. That's big. That's not easy to get. So you don't want to go in there saying, I got to hit 50,000 every quarter. No, it's piece by piece. So you're waking up every day. And now how I reverse engineered it, the number one say, I got to get at least 3 new doctors on board this month to even be on track for those 50 for the $50,000 bonus. So then I got to call on, instead of 10 doctors a day, I might have to call on 15 a day. So I know what is my starting point. The bonuses, they're going to come, guys, but you need a starting point. If you have your goal way too far, and it's words way too high, and you just wake up saying, I'm going to hit 50,000 this quarter. Okay, yeah, but what's your first step? Your first step, you got to break down how many doctors you're actually going to call on, because you need to keep up that type of volume to make all your other metrics go into place. So this is reverse engineering the number. So a lot of you out there, I want you to do this today. And I guarantee you, this is going to suck, because it's going to be like a punch to the gut. You're going to realize I can't even hit $50,000 in my current role. And that's okay. But because some of you might do this math and then come to realize, wait, if I do this math, I actually have to do 200 cases in a quarter. That's impossible. I don't even have a clinical support member. So I have to personally cover all 200 cases. And the cases are, say, 3 or 4 hours each. You can't be there in 3 or 4 different places at once, and you don't have the hours in the day to do it. So it's a good test to see what is the real potential in this job. Because I guarantee a lot of you guys don't do this. I didn't. I was just excited about the role, and I heard all these reps, they're making all this money. You don't know that that's real. So when you're ever going into a new role, do this test. See how many procedures you really have to do to get to that number. See if it's possible. Because quite simply, not, a manager could tell you, not that they're lying, a lot of time managers, they're trying to sell the position too. They want to get you to work there, especially if you're a good rep. They want you there. They want you to be a part of that team. They could say, Joe, you can easily make 300. We got reps that are making 4 or 500. And then you do this math, and you could see, well, wait, this is not adding up. Because you could quite simply ask, well, how many procedures is the top rep doing? And if they're bullshitting you, then you can do that quick math and say, wait a minute, the top rep is only doing 80, uh, 80 procedures a month. That doesn't even add up to hitting 300,000. So that's a good test you want to do, guys. You want to reverse engineer the number. If you just say, I'm going to hit 50,000, you're not going to hit it. You got to have that daily plan so you can go out there and hit that number every day, because hitting 15 doctors in a day is doable. You can do that. Just getting a $50,000 bonus, that takes time. There's a lot of moving parts. So you got to start with a simple task each day, hit that, and then all the other things will come into place. So that's just the first key part that I always want reps to start off with the right mindset. So start saying, no, I want you to start saying, when you're talking to your doc, when you're talking about your goals with your manager, who's ever is asking you, what your goals are, start breaking it down to the number of cases daily, weekly, monthly. Don't just talk about your commission checks and what you want to hit. I'm telling you guys, your managers are going to be more impressed that you have that type of approach. It's almost like a military approach. A lot of my friends in the military, they talk about that in the Marines. Whatever task they have, they work backwards, and that's how they come up with the game plan. We're going to be able to accomplish this goal, this mission. Let's plan it out and work backwards and what we're going to have to do. It's the same thing when you're approaching your territory. Can this actually be done? Because it may not be done at certain companies. And it's a good, it's a red flag, or it's just a good educational point for you. Do you really want to take this role or not? All right. So make sure you're talking that way, though, when you're talking with your manager on ride along, any weekly, daily discussions about, hitting your number, doing all that. Focus more on the smaller wins, because that's how you hit those goals. Okay? They're going to want to see when you're doing your first, say, your first business review, where you have to break down what you're doing in your territory. How are you getting to hit that number? Say they give you a quarterly number of 500,000. They're going to want to see how you get there. And you don't just put in your business review, well, I'm going to work real hard and kick ass and I'm going to sell everyone. It's bullshit. They don't want to hear that. They want to hear, okay, or you could say, no, I'm going to break it down. I'm going to do 10 cases with Dr. Jones this month. Well, that's interesting, because Dr. Jones only does about one case a month. So this is why you have to have your territory. You have to own it. Okay. You're going to hear this all the time. Treat your territory like it's your own business. This is by treating it like it's your own business. You need to know where the business is coming from. You need to know that Dr. Jones only does one a month. So you're not going to put him down for 10. That's realistic. It's unrealistic. And it also shows you don't know what the hell you're talking about. So you have to have that down pat at the physician level of where the cases are coming from. Right. So it's okay to even say, when your manager can have a goal for you that's nowhere near what the goal would be if you hit 50 cases or 50,000 a quarter. So if you have to do 100 cases to hit 50,000 a quarter, that could be your goal. And that's what you're striving for. And you could impress your manager, because your goal could be, well, maybe your goal is for your quota is only to do 50 cases a month. And I liked working this way, because even if I didn't hit my personal goal, I'm always hitting my goal, my number for the company. And that's another key, guys. So when you're doing these trying to hit these $300,000 yearly, total W-2 that you want to bring in, you want to have your goals higher than what the company's goals are, because even if you don't hit your personal goal, you're still hitting that company goal. Now, guarantee you guys, when you set your sights on higher than just hitting that quota that the company gives you, because to me, hitting quota was average. That's what you're supposed to do. But when I always had much higher goals personally, I would blow out my number, because I had such a high, a high metric for myself, that if I didn't hit it, I still hit my number by 150%. And you're going to see all that success it's going to start snowballing, because you're trying to hit these bigger goals. So the whole point of that part of the talk is set bigger goals for yourself that are higher than your quota. Okay. This is going to help you hit bigger commission checks, but don't focus on the dollars, focus on the cases, because dollars for me, it's, James, I'll give you another good movie reference, man. Back to Rudy again. You'll see in Rudy, his teachers always talk about that dreamers aren't always doers. So when you have these high unrealistic goals, you become a dreamer. All right. And dreamers don't get shit done. It's good to have goals and to daydream. I get all that, and to manifest. I'm a big manifester too. But you have to have a realistic daily plan, or you'll never get there. So that's the difference. That's what Rudy would be staring out into space, dreaming about being a college football player. But did he have the daily plan every day that, no, to do that, I'm going to have to work out and run 3 miles a day, lift, 5 days a week, or, again, breaking it down to what do I have to do today to be on that path to become a college football player? That's what you got to think the same way in terms of hitting this numbers. What is my daily plan? Because if you can't even accomplish that and accomplish your daily plan, then your goals, all your metrics are off and you're never going to hit it. Right. So,
Joe, that might be your best reference to date.
You sure it was better than Pitch Perfect or Devil Wears Prada?
Both of them, yes.
Right.
That was a good one.
All right. Good. I got you back. But anyway, so I think I beat that up enough there, guys. You get what I'm saying. You got to focus it down, reverse engineer, focus to the daily plan, hit your daily plan every day, and then you'll be closer to that number. Another quick tip. Again, I got this. You're going to laugh, James, but I got this from one of Jerry Seinfeld's. It wasn't a stand-up. He was actually getting interviewed, and he had a really interesting view on how he started, what his daily goal was. And his goal was to write a new joke every day. And then after he wrote that joke, he would go and put an X on the calendar, put a red X on the calendar. So if you're seeing red X's day 1, day 2, day 3, it starts to make like a chain of X's, for all the days of the week. And his point was nobody wants to break the chain. So you didn't want to do 6 days in a row and then you miss 2 or 3 days and all of a sudden you got these X's and it doesn't keep flowing, every day. You broke the chain. So set that same goal for yourself, if you have to hit 15 calls every day, put an X on your calendar and then make sure you could see a visual of, are you hitting that every day? And I guarantee you guys, you'll be surprised that your efforts usually correlate with your results. Sometimes we struggle and we got to change a game plan. There's times, even my own business, there's certain metrics that I feel like I'm putting all the effort in, but the results aren't there. It's okay. You got to just, you got to constantly work on your craft and change what you're doing if it's not working. But when you put down, did I do this every day, and make that part of your daily routine, you're going to see that it correlates a lot of times with hitting your goals. It's focus on the little things each day and the big things will come is the point I'm getting at. All right. Next thing is to really stop selling products and start owning disease states. Right? So the best reps out there, they quite frankly, they know their shit. These doctors are looking to speak to Joe Licata when it comes to a procedure in cardiology or in pain or whatever it was in your background. They know that when they come to you, you know your shit, and they know you're there to sell stuff, guys. You could call yourself a consultant, a sales rep, business development manager, whatever your title is. Who cares? At the end of the day, they know you're there to sell. That's how you make money. But to really be viewed as a consultant, the only way to get there is owning your disease state. You got to really own it. All right. You can't just focus on your product. Salesmen, the ones that aren't that good, the average sales rep, they know their product inside and out, but they don't really know the whole disease state inside and out. They don't really own that every night. This is where we always talk about own your own, right? That's that's our saying at RepPath. It's own your own. So when you're owning your own development, which we talk about during the interview process, which helps individuals stand out, you also got to own your own when it comes to knowing everything you can about that disease state, because you don't want to be the guy that only can chime in when it's about your product. And these conversations come up a lot. And I see reps sit there in silence a lot because they can't add any value to the conversation because they don't know enough about it. They just focus on their products. They don't focus on the overall disease state. So there could be things going on in that disease state that have nothing to do with your product. But if a doctor hears you, now you could talk the talk a little bit more, you're going to blow his or her mind. You're going to be like, wow, Joe's not just here just to talk about his product. He actually knows his shit. So I challenge you guys every day when you're starting in your roles, or you could be in a role for a while and you could be frustrated that you're not really bringing in the money that you really want, but you love this position that you're in. I challenge you, are you really owning your own every day to be a true master in that disease state? I'm not saying you're going to be as knowledgeable as a doctor. I mean, this is what the doctors do every day. They're hands-on, they're focusing on their disease state 10, 15 hours a day. They're going to be good at it. They should be good at it. Okay. But you got to own it yourself to put in the extra work every night. Instead of just sitting and flipping through Netflix or whatever bullshit's on TV, spend a half hour, spend an hour, spend 15 minutes and read a study that has nothing to do with your product. And then next time you go in there, you could talk to the doctor about it. Hey, did you see this study on XYZ? And the doctor might be like, oh, actually, yeah, that was interesting. Or be like, no, I didn't see that, Joe. Why? What was it about? And then you could start talking about something that has nothing to do with your product. That's okay. But it shows the doctor that you're not just so selfish and all you care about is selling your product, selling me. This is what happens with a lot of reps, guys. So show them that, no, you're here to provide more value and you really care about what you're selling. You care about the heart. You care about the spine or whatever that disease state is. It goes a long way because doctors have these conversations with one another. They don't just only talk about one thing. No, they have to be well-rounded. So own your disease states, guys. Don't just focus on selling products. Okay. Sorry, just going through some of my notes. Okay. Okay. So this is great, guys. I mean, this is something that, yeah, you definitely have to do if you want to get to those bigger commission checks, and that's monetizing the influencers that are in your territory. And so it's like, well, what does that mean, Joe? So we all have these micro influencers in medicine. I mean, they were influencers before influencers were out and became a thing. You need to get and really capitalize when you have those influencers, those, we'll call them KOLs, right? You need to capitalize these individuals to help them affect multiple players in your territory. So when you have someone that is a key opinion leader and likes your product, you have to run with that, guys. You really do, because you need that physician to help influence many other physicians in your territory. That's why when you see some of these reps that are crushing it in their territories, it's very rare that one doctor is the reason why that they are making such huge commission checks. They don't, most of these companies set it up where a lot of times it's not one doctor that is going to help you crush your number like that. Sometimes it happens, but it's rare. So a lot of times you need multiple doctors to get to the level that you really want to get to. And sometimes it's hard for you to go out there just as I don't want to call us everyday sales reps, but we're still sales reps. We're not physicians. These physicians, when they're a key opinion leader, obviously their messaging goes a long way. Whenever they say something, people listen. All right. So if you have one of these individuals, run with it, guys. That's how you monetize the micro influencers that are in your area, because you need these guys to affect multiple doctors. Getting back to our example at the beginning, if I'm going to hit 50,000, I got to do 100 cases. I need 10 doctors. So how many doctors can this doctor, this KOL, help influence so you get closer to your 10? And you got to start thinking that way. You can't think, oh, I got this big key opinion leader. He's the one that's going to drive all my business. No. Sometimes key opinion leaders aren't the highest volume doctors. They just have the most write-ups. They talk about, they do many speaker presentations, but they might not do that many cases per month. So you need the volume to get there. And how can this individual help you get there? So I know it sounds like a simple tip, but you got to think that way. It's not about having that doctor use you for as many cases as possible. How many doctors can he help influence? How many more can I get on my side? Because believe me, guys, you're not the only one chasing after these doctors. If you only have one doctor that's killing it for you in your territory, be very nervous about that, because that doctor, just as quickly as he came into your to use your product now, they might use you for every case. Remember, there's always people coming after him to take the business away. So that doctor could be gone just like that and start using product B instead of using you. Now what happens? You only had one key big doctor. All of a sudden, your actual numbers are going to plummet, and so are your commission checks. So the more the more that you could get your influencer to affect these other physicians, to get more doctors using your product, the better it's going to be for you in the long term. This is a key point that most reps are not good at, and that's really having a good ownership of the reimbursement and the payer information. A lot of reps don't like to have these conversations, or they just don't feel comfortable talking about this. You got to own that, guys. You got to know inside and out. You got to know if, whatever codes that your doctors are using to bill your product. You got to understand the billing. You need to know all this, because that is one of the most important things in medicine. It's how are they getting paid? If they don't have a good understanding of that, you could talk clinical all day long. If you don't even understand how the doctor is getting paid, or they could be losing money, or they could be whatever the situation is. But the whole point being, if you're just focused all clinical and you don't have an understanding of the reimbursement, you're not going to do well, guys. You're just not. You need to have a really good grasp of the reimbursements and own it, because you're going to get in these conversations sometimes. If you can't answer all those questions with a physician, again, you're going to lose credibility. So really own the reimbursement end. Have a good understanding about all the different payers. Know that inside and out, right? This is a key focus that's going to be important, if you really want to drive business moving forward. Okay. Sorry. Well, I think this is a good point. We can pause right now and see if there's any questions from the audience. James, if there's anything out there.
We got a couple for you, Joe.
Beautiful.
Do you see 300K being sustainable long term, or does it come in waves year to year?
Well, that's a great question, because it opens up, how is your comp plan structured? So if your comp plan, for instance, is based off of getting paid from $1, what does that mean? A lot of you out there, but what the hell does that mean? So every quarter, or however the numbers are readjusted, if it's quarterly, if it's monthly, whatever it is, whenever you're starting over, so we'll say every quarter, you have to hit 500,000 in sales, and you're getting paid 5% from $1. That means from the first sale, that first $10,000 device that you sell, you get 5% of that. Okay, and then the reason why that's important, because sometimes some companies, the first 100,000, they might not pay you $1 on, and then they pay you 2% from 100,000 in sales to 300,000 in sales, and then they pay you 5% from 300,000 to 500,000. All right, so you need to know what the comp plan is to know if it's sustainable. They might say, you know what, James, you're paid on growth, so we're going to give you 20% on your growth, and you'll be like, wow, I was getting 5% from $1 over there. Now I'm getting 20%. Okay, but pay attention, guys. It's about the growth. You might not be able to sustain quarter after quarter of growth. Now, for me, whenever a company is only paying on growth and not paying from $1, not paying on that business that you help grow and build, that's a red flag. A lot of times, you can crush your number the first quarter or two and walk away with huge bonus checks. And then all of a sudden, I see this a lot, because companies structure their bonus structure based on growth. Now all of a sudden, you can't keep growing. Or you might take an extra quarter or two, where, it's not always like this. Sometimes you have quarters where you dip, peaks and valleys, peaks and valleys. So you might have a quarter that dips, and if it's all on growth, I didn't make $1 because I didn't grow this quarter. That sucks. That hurts. So make sure you understand the comp plan. Is it based on $1, or if it's based on growth? If it's based on $1, then yes, I could see you sustaining. If you hit that 300,000, it's easier for that rep to sustain that kind of business. But if it's going to be constantly on growth, no, it's much harder.
Joe, do you think capital equipment reps have the best shot at 300K, or is it still possible in disposables?
Oh, 100%. It doesn't matter. Because I saw there were reps at Boston Scientific that you knew by their volume, you had a good indicator on how much money they were making. They made it very simple there on how you got paid. So there were reps making over $1 million when I was there. And it wasn't, again, this is 15 years ago or more. It wasn't a question. They were making those numbers. And then I worked with reps in capital equipment that, did really well and made millions of dollars a year, selling capital equipment. So it really doesn't matter. You got to really figure out that comp plan and see how if it's really possible. Excuse me. So it's individualized based on the company and their comp plan. And when you're interviewing for a new position, again, we always talk about this in the RepPath Academy, guys. When you're networking and you're not just sending your resume out, because we never teach that. You're never going to just send your resume blindly. Not with us. We're going to teach you how to network at the same time. And when you're doing that, and you're in those conversations with the sales reps that whoever you're speaking with or the managers, this is where you really want to get that information and learn about the comp plan, learn how it's paid out, have an understanding of how many cases are really doable every day or every month. This is going to help you come to a realization of, can I hit these commission checks that I want to hit? But the only way to know that, guys, is by having the conversation with the reps as you're interviewing.
What's the ramp up time to even get close to 300K? Are we talking 1 year, 3 years, 10 years?
It really depends. But I know people like to get, I always want to give real answers here. And I want to say it depends for every answer, but I would say anywhere realistically, depending on the right situation, the right product, comp, and everything makes sense. I think with a good company, you should be able to hit that within your second or third year.
Do reps make that from one product line, or do they layer income with multiple streams?
Well, that's a great point. I think anywhere where, I've seen reps do both, but, I'm always big on, if the more opportunity that you have, the more options that you have, the better. So if you can get there selling multiple products, because sometimes, for instance, let's say we'll focus, for a little bit on pharmaceutical. You're going to hear reps talk about and companies talk in terms of P1, P2, P3. That means the priority of the products. So if Zofran is my P1 and Zemuron is my P2, that means I'm going to focus primarily on Zofran, and then my secondary priority is Zemuron. All right. So the reason why this is important, because some doctors, they could love one of your products and absolutely hate another one. All right. Now, if I only have one product and it's a doctor that absolutely hates my product, then I'm screwed. I'm not going to get anything across there. I'm not going to sell anything. But a lot of times you can use that as a fallback, where, all right, he doesn't love the product that I really want to sell. He doesn't love my P1, but he likes my P2 and P3. And I had this when I first started selling contraceptives. I was selling birth control, and my primary was NuvaRing. And then I had another product called Cyclessa. All right, now Cyclessa was out for years. It was an oral contraceptive. Everyone was fine taking it. They liked it a lot. but the company, the focus was to sell NuvaRing. But sometimes I couldn't get a doctor to I wasn't selling them, wasn't closing them on NuvaRing. They just couldn't get it past that it was a vaginal contraceptive. And for a lot of doctors, that was like, my patients aren't going to like that. And they were right at the time because patients didn't want to use it years ago. But I still have my fallback of having them use Cyclesa. So I still had the relationship. They still liked the product. They liked the company. And it allowed me to come back over and over and eventually win over that business for NuvaRing. So it's great to have multiple products. You can get there where you're normally, if it's one product, you're going to have a closed door. All right. So for me, if I have more options, it's always better. But again, you could still get there selling one product. And if the product's doing well, it doesn't matter. You got enough doctors that like it, you could get to those big commission checks.
Joe, do you need a clinical background to get to that level?
100% no. You do not. It helps. But getting back to some of the things that we were talking about, where we talked about owning your therapeutic area, owning your disease state. This is why a lot of nurses out there that, again, at the RepPath Academy, we have tons of nurses that have done well and found jobs quickly because they have that clinical background. They own that disease state. They really know about the heart. They really know about the brain, about whatever it is. They do really well because in those conversations, they can have that clinical talk. They're seen as a real consultant and not just another sales rep. So they're able to hit those, they can do well just as any other sales rep out there because they really own that disease state.
We got, how do you prioritize between prospecting, service calls, and follow-ups?
Yeah, and that's a great question. And that's part of it. That's one of the big reasons where you need someone that treats their business, their territory, like it's a business. And again, it's never going to be like owning your own business, guys. So even though I don't love the way that that's phrased, like treat it like it's your own business, you're never going to treat it like it's your own business. When you have your own business, it's a whole different ball game. But for individuals that did own their own business and then have to run a territory, that a lot of times that experience works really well because they appreciate it and approach things in a different manner. So prioritizing is key. If you don't have a good grasp of whatever your territory is, you can drown. All right. This happens a lot because there's a lot of moving parts. When you're working for a company where you got case coverage, you have administrative reports, you have to actually still go out there and sell. You have to meet with patients afterwards. I mean, these are a lot of, you'll hear reps say, I wear many hats. And it's the truth. You have to wear many hats. And the best reps are good at wearing those many hats. So you have to be able to prioritize your sales calls, your admin time, whatever that is. You have to have a good grasp on everything and allocate enough time to give it the proper approach and the proper amount of time. And then you also can't give stuff too much time because it takes away from other areas. So it's a balancing act that you have to master. And it doesn't happen overnight, guys. When you start a new job, you're not going to come in there with all this experience and say, I'm going to have this mastered within a couple of days. No, it takes time. But you got to constantly refine that and get good at it, because if you don't have good time management, you're going to drown in one area or the other, and it's going to take away from your sales.
How do you stay motivated during slow months or product back orders?
Back orders suck. I mean, you have to get good at being able to control the controllables, and then also not derail yourself when you have the uncontrollables. So things like that, they're not fun when it's out of your control, but you have to keep a positive attitude, guys, because if not, leave that company. Don't stay somewhere with a negative attitude, because there's a back order. I mean, obviously you want to voice your opinion. You want to offer a solution if possible, but your main goal is to stay positive to keep, and then maintain your customers' frustrations, because they're going to be coming to you. And obviously you can't say, yeah, I know this back order sucks. My company sucks. They're never going to use you again. Right. So you gotta be positive. And the first thing I would be doing is controlling the temperature of all my clients. Right. I'm going to give you another one.
Let's go.
This is from Wall Street, the original Wall Street. You're probably too young to see that. I don't know. I mean,
I know of it.
You know of it. Okay.
Not that young. Almost 40.
This is the original. So this came out, I think, in '87. This is the original with Michael Douglas and Charlie Sheen. And in the movie, or actually they talk about this. Excuse me, they talk about this in Wolf of Wall Street. Is another perfect example where they have Black Monday. So Black Monday happened in the '80s, where the whole stock market crashed. And you see, it's actually in the Wolf of Wall Street, they show it better, where you see them on the phone, Matthew McConaughey, Leonardo DiCaprio, that other guy that's a son of a bitch manager of Leonardo DiCaprio. They're on the calls with all their clients, trying to handle all their frustrations. Now, these are real frustrations, because these are people that lost tons of money calling to say, what the hell is going on? In medical sales, you're probably not going to get doctors calling you up with that kind of frustration, but you're going to get them calling you up saying, what the hell is going on? And they're going to be frustrated, and they can easily switch to someone else for the most part. All right. So the goal is to handle those objections. So if there's bad things going on around you, I would spend time handling my objections. That's a real thing you can do. If you're asking, what could I do if there's a back order? Focus on, what are the good reps doing? How are they handling these objections? How are they handling this time? If it's slow, okay, you can always keep yourself busy, guys. If you're slow with cases today, you better be out there selling as much as you can. Don't sit home and go, I got the day off because I have no cases. I mean, that's pathetic. You always got to be searching and hunting for more. So a good sales rep is okay with a slow day, because a slow day means you could sell more. You can always sell. Slow means cases are slow. If doctors in pharma, you had a slow month, they didn't prescribe as much, but they're never going to say you can't go out there and sell today. So I would use that time to go out there and sell more.
We got what sacrifices come with earning that much? Family, time, travel, stress?
Everything. I mean, that doesn't matter what business you're in. Of course, when people have established businesses, they can have, other family members run it. They have other, management that they hire to run the business, and they are cruising and they make millions of dollars. Yeah, of course, that's great. It's great to be in that position, but it either came with a sacrifice from that individual prior, or another family member that may have owned the business years before. Someone had to sacrifice to get something to be successful. So always think that way, guys. When you're stressed and you're like, holy shit, I can't, this is, overwhelming. It's okay to feel that way. And if you're making the money, then you got to weigh that out yourself. I can't sit here and say the money's always going to be worth it. That you got to evaluate on an individual basis. But just realize the majority of the people out there, they are feeling more stress the more money they make. It just happens. You're going to have more issues the more money you make. So if that's not for you, then maybe this sales role might not be for you. Sales might not be for you. But if you want to make a lot of money, you have to embrace that more problems are going to come, more issues are going to come. Your wife is going to probably be upset that you can't make dinner, because you're having late cases, or you're out traveling across the country as part of your territory, because you got a large territory. I mean, all those things are going to come into play. You just have to say to yourself, is it worth it? And it may not be. If it's starting to affect your health, your marriage, your relationship with your kids, all these things, just because you want to make $300,000 a year, again, then you got to evaluate and ask yourself, is this worth it? So, but assume more money, more problems. It's going to be shit's going to keep getting. It's going to add on more and more the more money you make. So you just gotta ask yourself if it's worth it for you.
Kind of leads into the next question. Is medical sales still one of the best B2B careers in 2025?
I definitely think so. I mean, the one thing that I'm realistic with anyone that wants to get into this industry, it's very volatile, very. And I know a lot of industries are like that, but it's very rare that you're going to start with a company and be there the next 30 years of your life. So you got to be prepared that it's going to be multiple jumps. You might have to, a company could fold. They could lay you off. They don't get the funding for whatever product they were going for. Leadership changes. All these things are going to happen, guys. So if you can't embrace the change, if you're someone that doesn't like change, if you're someone that doesn't do well in a volatile market where things and directions change every other day, do not get into this business. But if you can embrace all that, definitely. I mean, there's still more and more jobs out there. There's always openings, always companies looking to develop new products, which means they're going to have new sales forces out there. Don't listen to the bullshit that, we're in a recession. It's slow because of the time of year. Guys, the jobs, yes, it's not the same every day, but at the end of the day, it's still a very, very competitive, very sought after market. You got young kids that are coming out of college making $100,000 a year. I mean, that's on average between their base and total and commissions. And then they get a company car. They get a cell phone. They get their medical, dental, vision, 401k, expense account, entertainment budget. You get all these things that adds up to way more than a $100,000 job. When you add in all the benefits, they're amazing jobs. Okay, so believe me, there's a reason why when I post a job, I get 300 to 500 applicants every time, and that's sometimes a lot more because everyone wants this because it's a great industry. So if this is something you really want, it's a great industry to get into.
We have Joe. Do you need to be in a certain territory or a big city to make numbers like that?
No. Sometimes, again, guys, it's not always all the big cities because there's so much volume and so much potential that's the only way you can make money in this industry. That's not true. You can make money in any territory because I've seen it. The only thing is you need to know, are the reimbursements the same? Is there anything going on in that area that can limit your access to selling the product? If you're in hospital sales and you have a product that's not on, say, HPG, which is one of the GPOs. Okay, now we talked about GPOs in other podcasts, but basically they buy for the hospitals, and so they have an approved list of products that the hospitals can use. So if your company didn't get your product onto that GPO, and we'll use HPG as an example, then you could be the best sales rep in the world. You could be in Midtown Manhattan, the mecca center of the economy with thousands of doctors around you. If they're not on contract, no one can use you at those hospitals. So then you're screwed. And then you could go out to Omaha, Nebraska, and in that area, a lot of the the hospitals are Premier. Premier is another GPO, and your company is on the Premier GPO. So that means they have access to that product. That rep out there could be killing it, and they can make a lot of money. I've seen territories where there were amazing sales reps that were in that territory. They got promoted or they left to go take a higher paying position. So they got this territory that's cranking and has won 3 President's Clubs in a row. Someone takes it over that individual could walk into, gold and do really well because of the previous rep. So there's a lot of variables. There isn't a city that I would say, yes, if you work in that city, you're going to make a lot of money. It's more about the product and the reimbursement and availability that they have. Those are the questions you need to be asking when you get into a new role. If it's a hospital position, is it covered? Is it what GPOs is it on? And then what is the makeup of your territory? Is it mostly one GPO, another GPO? And then this is where you got to do your research and your homework, because it doesn't matter how good you are. If you get into a position where doctors can't use the product, you're screwed. So make sure you're doing that research ahead of time, or you can call me, set up a meeting, and I can help you navigate that.
We have, where do you see the biggest earning opportunities right now? Startup, medtech, diagnostics, capital.
Well, the biggest earning part is usually always, again, it's a tough question, because there's always going to be someone out there that's saying, oh, well, my cousin went here, or my buddy went there and he made a lot of money. So guys, again, I'm just I'm dealing in generalities here. So generally, if you go to a startup, it's big risk, big reward. But again, a lot of times you'll see people with 4 startups on their resume in 3 years, because there's a reason why it's big risk, big reward. A lot of them don't work out. But the ones that do, that's where you see reps really crushing it with commission checks, numbers. I mean, they go out there. I mean, the Purdue reps back in the day when OxyContin really took off, I mean, Lord knows the commission checks they were making. Nobody anticipated that kind of volume to come out of that at the time. Reps that were selling Viagra when it first got launched. You'll see these crazy commission checks that we're making, because no one knew where it was going to get. Those were with big company, again, like Pfizer. That was Viagra. So typically you could say it's a startup, but again, big companies, you can do really well too. So it really doesn't matter so much. If you like the bigger risks and you want to try to hit home runs, and you're okay with striking out 5 times for that one home run, then I would focus on startups. But just be wary that a lot of them do fail, and you could be, looking for a new job within 6 months.
Joe, 300K sounds amazing, but is it even realistic for someone in their first few years?
It is realistic, but if you're in your first few years, it's very unlikely. You're not going to come into this industry, make $100,000 the first year, and then odds are each year you're going to go up an extra like $100,000. So you'll make 1, 2, and then $300,000 in your third year. It's not likely, guys. So don't think that way. If you're just focused on money and you don't love what you do, you're not really into hospital, medical sales, any of that, you're going to be miserable. Focus more on, I really love this that I'm selling. I love where I'm at. And that passion is going to make you a better rep, and you're going to eventually get to higher numbers. But if you go into it saying, I'm only going to work here if I'm going to make 300,000, it's going to be very unlikely that you get there.
What are the daily habits of a 300K rep?
The daily habits of a rep making 300,000. Again, one of the key things that they do, they reverse engineer that number, like we talked about. So, and they are disciplined as hell with doing those daily activities that help them get to the number they want to get to. They don't just think, I got to hit 50,000 in commission this quarter or I'm done. They think, no, today I have to make 15 calls. So it's not so much about it's the discipline to do everything, whatever that is. And it could be different. The daily activities are different for every rep, but the key thing that they all do is that they go in there identifying the doctor's key drivers and then selling to that. So they ask a lot of questions. So a good sales rep making 300,000 a year is listening more than they're talking. I will guarantee you guys, most young individuals, most people that don't have much experience, they feel like they got to be constantly educating and talking all day long. Guys, nobody wants to hear that all day. It gets annoying. The ones that are listening are the best reps, because that's what you have to do. You have to listen, because they're going to talk about what their concerns are, what problems they're having. If you're constantly talking, you're not listening, you're not hearing it, you're going to give the wrong messaging. So it's being able to daily provide that right messaging by listening more.
That's all I got for you today, Joe.
All right. Well, thank you, though. Guys, great questions. James, thank you for fielding all those.
Absolutely. Thank you for your great movie references.
Thank you. Thank you. They're getting better.
They are. As long as we're not talking about some chick flicks, we're good, Joe.
Again, there's a lot of good chick flicks out there too, but all serious, guys, thank you again for today. Thank you for your questions. As always, anybody that is struggling out there and they're really just at their wits' end, they're constantly getting ghosted when they're sending their applications in. They're not getting anyone responding. They're not booking interviews, and you're ready to give up. Please reach out to me. The RepPath Academy is there for all you guys. We are placing individuals every day. So shoot me a message, set up a call with me so we can talk about, the specifics. You can go on my website, RepPath.com, so you can see and sign up right there. You could see the testimonials. You could see the impact that we're having to help people break into this amazing industry. So make sure you're doing that. Thank you for putting that up right here. You see, we've placed thousands of candidates, and it's helping you guys get to that six-figure salary that a lot of people are striving for, in a short amount of time. So that's what we do. That's what our coaches do. It's a great community to be a part of to help you get there. So you don't have that feeling of you're being on an island and you're alone. We're in this with you guys together, and we're not going to stop until you break into the industry. All right. So again, guys, thank you again for today. And we're going to be doing these every Monday and Wednesday at 3 p.m. So we got a great call coming up this week with Kendi Elmar. He is the founder of The Lobby. You guys, I know a lot of you out there are seeing The Lobby Network. They have groups all around the country. It's going to be an amazing talk this Wednesday at 3 p.m. where he's going to talk about networking and the importance of networking. So I ask all you guys to be on this call because you don't want to miss it. But thank you again. Have a great week, and I'll talk to you.
Don't forget your lobby, anybody that wants to join through the lobby.
Yes, sorry, before I forget. Thank you. Please use the promo code Licata, and you'll be able to get additional discounts. So please reach out when you message me about the lobby. If you're joining the call and you're looking for our coaching services to join the RepPath Academy, please use the promo code Licata so you can get